Hello and welcome to another episode of Stroke Survivor Stories. Today our guest is Arnie Heuvelman. How you doing today, Arnie?
Doing good, Ralph. Thank you.
Good, good. Let's get into your story here a bit. When did your stroke occur?
My stroke occurred on March 7th, 2020, right at the
Okay.
beginning of COVID.
Oh wow, that made it difficult, didn't it?
In the hospital, yeah, it made it really difficult in the hospital.
Yeah, I bet. Can you describe your first symptoms? Did you realize you were having a stroke at all?
Ralph, I had no symptoms and had no idea how I was having a stroke.
No warnings, no warning signs, no medical history to
No,
give you.
I had very little to no, warning signs or risk factors. I wasn't overweight. I didn't smoke. I did have high cholesterol for a while, but I was active. I was very active. So when the stroke hit, it was completely out, caught me and caught my family off guard, and it came out of nowhere.
Wow. What type of stroke did you experience?
It was an ischemic stroke. It was a right-sided ischemic blood clot.
Okay. What specific limitations did you were caused by it?
Uh, I had trouble walking. I had trouble eating, and I lost my job because I couldn't do the job that I was doing before.
Wow.
So that was the main thing. The limitations was, I couldn't drive. I lost my ability to drive.
Yeah. Have you gotten a driving back?
I did. I got
You
I got the driving back right after my first year stroke anniversary.
okay. Did you have to go to lessons for that?
Uh, to avoid World War III with my family, Ralph, I did.
Oh, okay.
My
Very
my both my daughters. I had two daughters at the time. One was 32, one was 29. They both said when I approached my family about wanting to get my independence back, and I told my family I think I'm ready to start driving again. And both my daughters said, "Well, Dad, we'll help evaluate you." And I'm like, "Oh, this
oh
doesn't sound
no,
good at all."
that doesn't sound good.
Both, all I could think of immediately I thought about was, my both my daughters was going to get revenge because when they turned 16, when I was working with them on teaching them how to drive.
And did they?
Well, this is why I went to I had a school evaluate me. So I took both my daughters and my wife and my one son-in-law. None of them wanted me to drive because they were worried about, me being on the road again. Just like a 16-year-old, letting them go for the first time.
Yeah, yeah,
You're always
exactly.
worried about them.
Of
So
course. So how
I
long were
felt
you?
I felt like I was a wounded bird in between two cats ready to pounce on me with my two daughters. So I just didn't think this could end good. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to have anybody in my family evaluate me. I'm going to go to a, outside service to have an independent person evaluate me. So that
Okay,
worked out the best.
good, good. How long were you in the hospital? Did you spend time in the ICU and go into inpatient?
Yes, I was in the ICU. Total hospital stay was probably about 4 weeks. That included the rehab hospital.
Oh, okay, okay. So what was your initial recovery experience like? Did you feel like you were getting enough information? Did you uh, have difficulty with communication? That kind of thing.
Ralph, I felt, there was when I was in the hospital, me and my family got no information. We didn't know anybody who's ever had a stroke. I knew nothing about it. And I was just clamoring for information. I just wanted to read about anything about stroke from somebody who's been through it. I never knew of anybody who had a stroke, so I didn't know who to talk to. What was it like? What was the recovery? What can I expect? What made me and my family be in for? I was just completely blind.
Wow. Well,
And it wasn't until I was introduced to Stroke Awareness Oregon, I felt alone. I really did.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It took me several months before I met another stroke survivor, and it made all the difference in the world. And
It
then,
did. I felt like
yeah,
I wasn't alone anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Support is a huge thing in the recovery. How would you describe the quality of care you received in a hospital?
I think it was good. At being in the hospital at the height, at the really at the beginning of the COVID hysteria, it was tough because none of the nurses knew exactly what was going on, how to handle, the pandemic. And I was on a COVID floor. Nobody knew I was in there for a stroke. You know, they just
Wow.
they didn't know why I was really in the hospital.
Oh
So
my God.
in the beginning, their care was, it was rough.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter was allowed to stay with me in the hospital room because I mean I was out of it, Ralph. I was hallucinating. I had no idea what was going on. I knew I had a stroke, but I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Good. So were you at a teaching hospital? Did you have attendings or did you just have regular doctors?
I was just at a regular hospital.
Okay. So that's probably part of the reason it wasn't a certified stroke center.
Yes, correct.
Okay. What were well, did you, with your family there, did that help with the communication? I mean, did they jump in and ask questions? Did they
Oh, absolutely. There,
take notes?
yes. In the very, very beginning, my wife has a little bit of a medical background. And in the very beginning, I had the hospital neurologist, I had the hospital doctor, the ICU doctor, and they all had different opinions as to how I should be treated. And finally, my wife stepped in and said, "Look it, the neurologist, he specializes in the brain, so he's in charge." My wife said, took all the other doctors out of it. We have one doctor that's going to be in charge, and that's it.
Great. Wow, that's
Because all three
fantastic.
doctors had different opinions, which is probably natural. And my,
Yes.
my wife finally said, enough of this.
Yeah. I've had attending physicians plus my neurologist, and I finally said to the attendings, get out of my room, because the
Yeah.
neurologist knew what he was doing.
You
So,
you have to. You have to do that, Ralph. You have to have somebody who's in charge. And
yeah,
you gotta pick the person who's best equipped or best educated. And neurologists, that's their field.
yeah, exactly. Well, and the other thing is, we go through that trauma right in the beginning, and we don't realize that we're the captain of our team. We're the ones that have to make the
Right, right.
decision to say, this is the way it's going to be, you know,
Exactly.
and that's hard to come to in the state we're in,
Yeah.
so you were
And
very lucky with the family issue there.
oh, I was very lucky because,
Yeah.
like I said, it was at the beginning of the COVID hysteria. And there was so many lockdown measures in these hospitals in St. Louis that nobody was allowed in or out, but the hospital allowed my wife and my daughter, because of the situation I was in, they allowed them to stay. So they were, both my daughters and my wife, they asked a lot of questions. They had a notebook where they were writing answers down, just so they know they didn't have to ask the question 2 or 3 times. And then if I
That's
ever
great.
had questions, they had the answers in their notebook. So they were
That's
very, very good
fantastic.
about taking notes and asking questions.
How did you tackle any obstacles that the healthcare system gave you in the beginning? For example, plateaus in recovery, your discouragement, that kind of thing.
Ralph, I ended up being my own advocate. You have to, there was some therapies I wanted to do, and my insurance company said, well, there's no proven, that there's no enough information to show that this type of therapy helps you. And I said, well, it's not going to hurt my brain, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
And I got my primary care doctor, and I also got my neurologist on my side.
that's great.
I told all my doctors in the very beginning, you're my advocate. I expect you to be my advocate. And that means
Fantastic.
sticking up for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ralph, I did this. I want to do this one kind of treatment that I heard from a friend of mine. It's called the hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Yeah,
And the reason I wanted to do it because a lot of athletes in the United States, if they get an injury, an injury, you need blood flow and oxygen to the injured area. So I treated my brain injury just like any other injury. So I wanted to make sure blood flow and oxygen got to my brain. And that's how I approach it. And the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, enhances your oxygen into your blood system. So that's why I told my doctors, I'm doing this, whether you support it or not, I'm doing it. And I had to pay a little bit out of pocket for that, but I ended up getting the insurance company to pay, a small percentage of it. So the out-of-pocket expense wasn't that bad.
Oh, good.
So,
Very cool.
but I would get on the phone with insurance companies and just, I would try to put them in a corner and say, why won't you cover this?
Right. Did you
And I would say, have you ever gone through a brain injury? What is your documentation? Prove to me that this does not work.
And they couldn't, could they?
They couldn't.
Yeah. Well, then that was smart, really smart. Go ahead.
What I found out, Ralph, is that if some of the therapies or the treatments were very, very expensive, the insurance companies really tried to dig in their heels. But if the therapy wasn't that expensive, they were very willing to, pay, approve it. That's
Right.
at least that's what I ran across.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tell me a little bit personal here now. What are the most significant
I'm sorry?
changes in your life after the stroke? What are the most significant changes in your life after the stroke?
My personality changed quite a bit, Ralph.
Really?
I was a type of person nothing bothered me. Everything rolled off my shoulders. It was just, I was very thick skinned, but afterwards, I was very, very thin skinned. I always felt people were trying to use me at my stroke as against me. And I thought, people were trying to take advantage of me, and I didn't. I was sometimes combative with my loved ones, family and friends, just because I thought they were, I won't say taking advantage of me, but just because I had a stroke, I thought they were, not talking to me like they should have.
Right. It's kind of a overcompensating.
Yes.
And trying to cover you instead of letting you cover yourself. Yeah, that makes sense.
I had depression real bad, and even 4 years later, Ralph, I still have a little bit of depression that I'm fighting, and that I'm getting treatments for, and that's been a game changer for me.
Yes, definitely.
But
and recovery always did encompass both physical and mental.
It is.
Yeah, and the mental health part. I mean, did you have a perspective about mental health prior to that you didn't think it was any good, and now you do?
Well, Ralph, my youngest daughter, she was at a very early age, we noticed that she was having some issues, and I don't want to say she was diagnosed, but she started being treated for depression from a very young age. So but my wife and I, we just didn't know what we didn't know. That was 30 years ago. It wasn't talked about very much. There wasn't a lot of stuff known. So my wife and I, we relied on the healthcare professionals back then. But, going through it myself, oh yeah, I'm a big advocate. I mean, there's not enough mental health professionals to help people.
Well, and the specialty of stroke too. I mean, there's a whole thing about neuropsychological.
I was introduced with a neuropsychologist, Ralph, and she was a blessing to me. She was used to treating stroke survivors, and that was her specialty as a psychologist. Because I didn't know, when I was early on, I didn't know what I was doing, and these feelings I were having, was that normal? Was it not normal? Am I going crazy? And why am I thinking like this? And why am I acting like this? And she was very, very helpful in telling me, Arnie, this is typical. This is normal.
Great. Do What made you realize you needed some mental health, um, needed to address those mental health issues? There's
You
a
know,
turning
Ralph, was
point in
funny.
our lives.
A year after I had my stroke, it was actually December. It was right before Christmas of 2021. I was in a Walmart store. I went to go to Walmart to get my two grandsons a Christmas present. And the next thing I know, I have somebody tapping on my shoulder, and I'm sitting on the ground in a Walmart store in the storage container aisle. I have no idea how I got there. I was bawling. I didn't know why I was bawling. And finally, I had two other Walmart employees come over to me and said, "Sir, do you want us to call you an ambulance?" I said, "No, just help me get to my truck." So they helped me got me to my truck. And I knew right then and there I needed help. So I called my wife. I said, "Debbie, I need help. I need mental health. This is what happened, and this is not normal for me. So I need help." And
Yeah,
and she called my doctor, and the very next morning I was in to see my doctor.
wonderful. And they
And
referred you to a
right,
neuropsychologist right away?
right. And Ralph,
That's
one of the things that I want to tell your listeners and everybody who's listening is I treated my brain injury just like any other injury. You know, if you break a leg, if you do something like that, you're going to see a physical therapist to
right.
help you get up to your to repair, to rehab your leg. I treated my brain injury just the same way. I was going to see anybody and everybody who had experience with the brain. I saw a psychiatrist. I went to see any therapist, psychologist that I knew, because I wanted to get better. And the only way to get better, Ralph, was to see the people who had the experience with recovery, with mental illness. I didn't care. I was not one of these guys that was going to shy away from mental health. I told everybody that I was in friends, family, that I was seeing a psychologist. I had depression. I was not going to shy. Too many people, Ralph, they shy away from it. They see like as a weakness, or they're embarrassed.
Yeah, the stigma.
It is, but you got to step up. You can't be you can't see it as a stigma.
Yeah,
And I felt like, what, I'm going to set an example that I'm going to do what I have to do to get better. And that's what I had to do to get better. I saw any professional, Ralph, that I felt like I needed to.
yeah. Did you have physical limitations also?
I did. I
Yeah.
had partial paralysis in my left arm and my left leg,
Okay.
and my left hand is completely numb. I have no feeling in my left hand
Still.
still,
Okay.
but I can use it. I can squeeze
Oh
it and
yeah.
I can carry things. I just can't feel anything in it.
And is that hot and cold too, or?
Uh, early on, Ralph, I had because I had I can't, both my left arm and my left hand I call it hypersensitivity. So if I'm holding something cold, it feels like somebody's taking needles, thousands of needles sticking in my hand because of hypersensitivity. But that hypersensitivity to coldness has gotten better.
Okay. Give me a second here. Sorry. My computer is acting up.
One thing I want to say, Ralph, is there's no textbook on how to deal with a stroke or a traumatic brain injury. My
Agreed.
marriage, my wife and I, we were married 33 years. And because my personality changed so much, Ralph, we struggled. My wife went to see a psychologist. I went and saw a psychologist to help me deal with my marriage.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, and how's that recovery going today? I mean, how are you guys still together? I should, maybe that's too personal, but
no, it's good. No, it's we've struggled, Ralph, and it's mainly my wife changed because I changed.
yeah,
You know, this stroke affected her just as it did me.
yeah.
She basically
Well,
lost her husband of 33 years. We're coming up on 37 years so, after the first of the year. So she's still seeing help, and I'm still getting help
Well,
because
great.
my mental illness, I still got issues that I'm working on, Ralph. It's an everyday fight. It's an everyday. I deal with it every day.
Yeah, yeah, I
But it
agree.
has gotten tremendously better, and so it's for me, life is good, Ralph. Life is
Yeah. Well,
I'm very, very blessed about my recovery,
and one
and
of
I
the
know it.
reasons I really wanted to talk to you, Arnie, is because the fight in you is obvious every time I see you or talk to you. It's very obvious that you want to be better. You want to strive. You want to get through these things, which is amazing to me. So many people,
Yeah,
it's not an old saying, but it's something we've talked about recently, is that you have a choice of becoming a stroke survivor or a stroke warrior. And
right.
you're a stroke warrior.
Well,
Whatever.
the title of my book is going to be "It's Too Easy to Quit."
Ooh, great.
Because if you think about it, our injury, it's invisible. People can't see our injury. So I got to a point where my side effects were so severe. It's like, why do I want to get up every day and punish myself like this? If I just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of this. I have where I'm recovered to at this point in time. I could have a very good life. So why keep beating myself up every day?
Yeah,
So
agreed.
and what I came down to, Ralph, I was tired. I was tired of getting help to get dressed. I was tired of not being the husband I wanted to be. I was just tired of being tired, and the only way to get better is to keep fighting.
Yes.
And it's not my nature just to give up anyway. So if I wanted to stop being tired and have a normal life, I had to keep going, Ralph.
Yeah. Yeah, we all do it some way. Did you find that doing some of the things that you used to do before the stroke, whether it looked pretty or not, made you better?
Yes, it did. It made me mentally better. It really, you know, about a year after my stroke, Ralph, I was able to hunt, I was able to fish, I was able to play golf. Not
Wonderful.
nearly like I was able to do before, but I was able to do it.
Right. But it got better, didn't it? Every time you
It
did it.
did, it did. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And
One of the things I try to look at, Ralph, is, you know, I try to look at how did I get to that point I was when I was 56? How did I get there? How did I learn? How did my brain learn? And it was by repetitiveness. You had to repeat, repeat, and repeat. And there was a lot of places, times I had to start over. So I just one step at a time. And then eventually I improved, each year I improved a little bit more, a little bit more. But I
how'd you
wasn't in a
become?
hurry.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a hurry. I just took my time.
Yeah. That's smart. So many of us get so impatient with what's going on that we
Yeah,
make things worse. It's those little victories every day.
it is. It really is, Ralph.
Yeah. How would you describe your recovery today?
Uh, my recovery is, I'm a walking miracle. I mean, I couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% normal, but Ralph, I've probably recovered 90, 95%. My left side of my body, it may never come back, but I've learned to adjust with it, and I'm having a normal life, as much as I can be normal.
Right.
I
Are
have
you?
limitations, but I've learned to work within those limitations.
Yeah. Like setting limits or doing certain
Right.
things slower. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Are you currently attending any therapies?
Outside of Stroke Awareness Oregon, no, I'm done seeing therapists. Well, I'm seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist still to
Okay.
help balance my medicine, and I do see a psychologist for my marriage to help keep
Okay.
me,
Focused.
on a straight and narrow.
Yeah. What's a typical day look like for you, Arnie?
Well, I try to, I get up, I get into my normal routine. I get up, take my medicines, my, I have a regimen of medicines I take every morning. I try to look at a project that I didn't finish the day before, I try and finish that project. I work on my book for a couple hours every day. And then I help my wife around the house.
Okay. In that typical day, do you do any therapies on your own, for example, exercises or physical
Yes.
things? Okay,
What I found, Ralph, is I started lifting weights and working out pretty regularly. And what that
good.
happened is it helped strengthen my shoulder. And by strengthening my shoulder, the paralysis in my left hand, it's not as it's easier to work with.
Okay, okay. Well, that's great.
Because once the paralysis was, I could use my left arm, but it was just so heavy. It felt like, I had a dead weight. My arm was just felt dead, and to do anything, I had to lift it. And it was so heavy to lift. But by strengthening my shoulder, it made it easier to use my
That's
left arm.
fantastic. What's the best part of your day these days?
Best part of the day in the mornings. I love mornings.
Yeah. Well, part of it is being a stroke warrior. We woke up this morning. There's so many of us that we lose, you know.
Yeah, I woke up and got to see the sun, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly. What's the most challenging part of your day and how do you cope with it?
Part of most challenging, I would say, the afternoons. Um, I get tired and I feel like I want to take a nap, but if I take a nap, there's so many things I want to do. So it's just, do I try and fight through not taking a nap? So I've got into a routine of, if I could just close my eyes and rest for a half an hour, whether I fall asleep or not, it doesn't matter. But if I just close my eyes for a half an hour, then I'm good to go.
That's fantastic. So you're meditating to a certain extent. Yeah.
It's almost, yes, it's almost like it's relaxing my mind, and it's,
Yeah. Well, a lot of us too, in the beginning, have a difficult time, again, focusing. How important has setting goals been to your recovery process?
Ralph, it's been very important because it's given me something to shoot for.
Okay.
It's just, it helps, it helps sets my routine each day, and I don't become lazy and complacent.
Right, right. In what ways has your stroke brought new rewards or lessons in your life?
I'm sorry, say that again.
In what way has your stroke brought new rewards in your life or lessons learned?
New rewards. There's one in particular, Ralph. My youngest daughter and I, we weren't as close as I would like it to be when she was growing up. And part of it was because I didn't understand what she was going through. And I didn't want to be one of those fathers that put my head in the sand and
Yeah,
just she didn't give her what she's want just because she's complaining. Well, that was her way of reaching out that she was hurting. And then after I had my issues, I was more able to relate to what she was going through.
right.
And she could relate to what I was going through. And she was there helping me day in and day out. Said, "Dad, look at this. You got to do this." And so we became closer than I ever thought imaginable. So that has been a tremendous benefit.
Yeah. Do you perceive yourself differently as a person now?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm not as confident and as mentally strong as I used to be. And I really have to focus on that and really pay attention.
Okay.
And I talk to myself a lot about, I say, Arnie, get over it. Arnie, this is not you. This is not really happening, but it's just in your head.
Ah, I like that.
That had to do with the depression.
Yeah, I bet. What have you learned about yourself through this stroke journey?
I am much mentally more stronger than I ever thought possible.
Okay. And that's developed over the 4 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it
Because the amount of
continues.
setbacks, you take 3 steps forward, and you always end up taking 2 steps back.
Right, right. What do you think your future looks like as you continue your recovery journey?
Ralph, the way the recovery is going, I'm never going to stop trying to recover. And
Right.
and your brain is constantly reconnecting and making new pathways. So my future, I'm working on my fine motor skills with my left hand just because of the numbness and the lack of dexterity. So I got to work with my fine motor skills, and that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
And my future looks great, Ralph. It really does.
How do you envision your life a year from now?
Well, my wife's going to retire, and we're going to start, doing some traveling together. And
Oh, wonderful.
so we're going to start driving around the U.S. and visiting some other countries that we wanted to see. And
Right.
so it's not going to slow us down one bit.
That's fantastic. If you could talk to another stroke survivor just leaving the hospital, what advice would you give them and their families?
Well, I would tell them, don't expect too much right away. Cut yourself some slack or give yourself a break, that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And
Right.
the biggest thing is that both my daughters told me when I was getting frustrated early on about, I didn't think I was recovering, as fast as I thought I should be. And they said, Dad, don't compare your improvements versus yesterday. Compare your recovery versus where you were last year. And Ralph, if you do that, it's like, oh my gosh, have I come 10 times farther than I ever dreamed of.
That makes sense. That makes a lot
So
of sense.
whenever I needed a pick me up with my recovery, I would think back. I say, okay, where was I last year? And, and that just changed my whole perspective.
Yeah.
But I would also tell people leaving the hospital, don't try and go at this by yourself. Get all the help you need, because it changes your life.
And that saying that we talk about, it's not just you that has a stroke, it's the whole family.
It does. It really is. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't covered?
Let's see here. Let me see here. Depression is real. Mental health is real. I mean, it's mental health. I mean, it's amazing what your brain can do to you. It's just, I went through hallucinations that I thought was so real. And my wife just said, Arnie, think about what you're saying. That's totally impossible. It's completely impossible for what you're seeing to be happening.
Yeah.
And I really had to depend on her and rely on her that, okay, she's got my best interest at heart. So I thought the trees outside of my window, because the wind was blowing, I thought the trees were coming alive.
Oh, okay.
And I was starting to freak out. I said, Debbie, call the fire department. The trees are coming alive. We got to cut them down. And I'm like, and she's like, Arnie, think about it. It's just the wind blowing.
Yeah.
And I could have swore the trees were actually coming alive. So,
yeah.
But it's amazing what your brain can take over.
And relearn.
And relearn. It does.
Yeah. That neuroplasticity is a real thing.
It is, Ralph, and it never stops. It always keeps happening.
I agree. Can you summarize your message to fellow stroke warriors and our listeners about what you wish others knew that could have made a difference in your recovery journey? We didn't know what we didn't know. Let's tell a new stroke survivor what they should know.
Right. Ralph, early on, I was doing things and I didn't know why I was doing things. But if I knew back then what I know now, I would have tackled that with a lot more vigor than I did when I was originally out of the hospital. Because I didn't know why I was doing things and what it meant.
Okay.
And everything, said, well, Arnie, what my therapist said, 2 or 3 years down the road, this is what we'll do for you. Well, I didn't know what 2 or 3 years down the road would look like.
Yeah. Did anybody ever tell you this is as good as it's going to get from your therapy?
No.
Okay, good.
If they did, I didn't listen to them because I didn't believe them. Well, and also I said, you don't know me very well because I'm never going to stop trying.
Yeah, that's, like I said, you've got the fight in you that I just love.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add today, Arnie?
Yeah, one other thing, and this was very hard and most people they don't understand when I say the day I stopped fighting, Ralph, is the day I got my life back. And what I mean by that is I stopped fighting the side effects. I started to live within the boundaries of those side effects, and it changed my whole life.
Oh, that's profound. I like that very much. Very much.
So I quit trying to fight the side effects. I started living within the boundaries of those side effects, and it just changed my whole life.
And you made adjustments, I'm assuming, to your life to live within
Oh,
that?
sure it does. But you know what? If I wanted a life, I had to make those adjustments.
Yeah, yeah. Arnie, I appreciate your time today. I hope you've enjoyed talking with us today, and I can't wait for everybody to hear your story.
Ralph, you know, a stroke warriors, we could talk all day about this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But we're on a limited time for one interview at a time. So, but we'll talk again, Arnie. I mean, especially when you start getting your book ready. I'd love to
I hope
promote
so,
it.
Ralph. I enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Well, have a great
And
day.
thank you for what you do. You and Stroke Aware Disorders, it's a tremendous organization.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
We'll
bye,
see you.
Ralph.